Hi. Thanks for watching. As an old boomer, I have followed the development in areas like forming of relationships and sex habits since the late 50s. When, and if, I get the time, I have a great number of subtopics to give my thoughts on, from nice guys to hybristophilia, but today I will talk a bit about feminism, and, please excuse my English. Also, due to lack of time, this is too hastily composed, sorry. These three feats I consider the most important achievements of feminism. 1. Equality in sex behavior. It's finally and of course right for women to sleep around like all men always did, no remorse and no slut-shaming, thus, the most important inequality corrected. 2. Complete disclosure and eradication of the toxic patriarchy. 3. Fighting for and finally attaining all the civil rights men always had. Right to vote, admission to higher education, the same right as men to any occupation in society. These rights would never been achieved without a sturdy feminism. Since I'm in no way an expert in these matters, I here present a few examples of where to find more well-informed facts and information, all on YouTube. Of course I'm cherry-picking, to get my opinion through, but it's recommendable to look for all opinions, even contradictory, read and judge as best you can. Janice Fiamengo, Studio B, Studio Bruley. Christina Hoff Summers, The Factual Feminist. Suzanne Venker. Camille Paglia, solo interviewed or in talk with Jordan Peterson. Now to my comments. Did all men really sleep around? The answer is of course, no, not even always if they could, most men never could, though. In the old monogamous time it was considered highly immoral to be promiscuous, whether you were a man or a woman, and harshly frowned upon. It was only after the sexual revolution that it was possible for a man, that is the top 5%, to sleep around, and that because women, who are in control of sex, let them. These dudes, horn dogs, and wormongers, now suddenly got the reputation of being studs. Contrary to what women think, studs are not admired by normies. This myth is only perpetrated as an excuse for women to be promiscuous. Now, what about the patriarchy? Did it exist? Well, most species in the animal world are matriarchal: lions, elephants, hyenas, and likewise most of the primates and big apes, man included. The patriarchy inferred in debates is believed and used only by feminists, and it is a made-up strawman, but actually, there might also be some additional patriarchal traits, remnants of the dangerous times when men had to handle the outer dangerous world, war, and politics, while females and children were kept safe and protected by the males even at the risk of his own life. But this also involved a cost for the female. The male had to be respected and preferably also admired. As another gratitude, he was also assigned the formal head of the family, like a ceremonial king, while the woman often was the real ruler, in charge of the household and the economy. I still remember back in the 50s, the men coming home from the factories on Friday evening, promptly handing over the pay to their spouses. To have any chance to pass on his legacy, the male is totally dependent of the female, who is extremely valuable and therefore pedestalized. So much for the patriarchy. Well, finally, what about all the civil rights now granted to women? Isn't that thanks to hard and persistent efforts by the feminists? No, it's not. It's thanks to the liberalism, starting with the French Revolution. Until the 19th century, only a very small percentage of men, for historical reasons, had any of these rights, and slavery was still in effect. The feminists knocked in open doors. Men in general were in favor of giving women political rights, like for example the British philosopher John Stuart Mill already in the 19th century. There were also, though, a few men that raised well-grounded warnings, but most men were, as always, just too eager to please women. So there was really no need for the suffragettes to rampage and wreak havoc. The most important resistance was actually from women, that could see no reason why they should infringe on men's duty to represent the family. As the ceremonial king, he often had to vote the way the informal head of the family, his wife, told him. So what did feminism achieve? First, division of men, divide and rule. Only the top 10% of all men are visible. These are dominant, sometimes even psychopaths or criminals. They get attention from all women but have no incentive to commit. The rest of the men are either incels, around 40%, or low-sex betas, or simps, if married. Also the women are divided in mainly two groups, office career women or, plain sluts, all of them having an extensive sexual history. It's so bad today that a real virgin won't be believed and will therefore feel it necessary to participate in the CC. Second, creating entitled and narcissistic women, trespassing into, and invading all male spaces, obviously believing them being better or of a higher value than women's dominions, this out of envy and inferiority complex. Men's rights infringed and men disparaged and disrespected. Men just getting pissed off, and leaving. Third, there is no right that a man has that not a woman also has, but not the reverse. Most important, women have all reproductive rights, men none, only responsibilities. Now some additional remarks. Mutual consent declaration is a pure myth. A 16, or 18-year-old girl are no way mature enough to give a based consent. Of course, a woman must always have the right to say no, but not always the right to say yes. Though in a committed relationship it might be advisable to sometimes say yes even when feeling like not. The dating have been totally destroyed by women's sexual liberation while there is no such liberation for men. Most women will lose all, while believing they can grasp all. And the state, read taxpayers, will then have to rescue them for their stupid actions. Another consequence is that droves of good men will never have the chance to become husbands and fathers due to lack of decent, marriageable women. This is how it should be. First and foremost, no acceptance of promiscuity. A young man and a young woman, both virgins, will then meet, have to accept what they got, and live exclusively thereafter and be submissive to each other. No one can get everything he wishes, that would make him or her bored and spoiled. If you can't get who you love, you have to love who you got. For the man it's a matter of pride and honor, knowing his wife is chaste. This will make him develop confidence and alpha traits so appreciated by women. What women don't seem to understand is that committing to a girl with a body count feels like eating a hamburger where other people have spit into the slices. These relationships do not last long, and if they do they are not very happy. Conclusion. The first wave feminism started out with the explicit goal to destruct the family, as being a patriarchal institution. The further feminist postulates, madnesses, and pure lies, have by time got the status of dogma, swallowed by the lamestream media and sadly by most women. So, why feminism at all? Most nations already have a political parliamentary system where all kinds of issues and societal problems are handled. Like children's issues, retired people's issues, issues concerning men as well as women. The creation of feminism only resulted in war and hatred between the sexes and it destroys everything it touches. It should never had come into existence, period. The feminists have had their play, now it's time for wise and sane people to tidy up. We are already deep into a harem culture thanks to women's sexual freedom, liberation. This does not work well for humans where the offspring has to be taken care of for decades. Not even if the state or cuckolded simps, stepfathers, take on some burden, the birth rate will never be near sufficient to avoid a demographic collapse. Promiscuity is the root cause of today's evil and it must be fiercely attacked and eradicated at all cost. As always, remember the incontestable insistence, no hymen, no diamond. Bye.